Hi guys, my name is Lauren Farquhar, and let me start by saying or by apologizing for being late on posting this. Unfortunately, our household was kind of overtaken by a second round of the flu just a few weeks ago that started with me and then trickled downstream. So there was about a 2-week time period where it was just no good. So that's why this is a little late. But this is my briefing for the movie The Crimson Tide. And just to start, I can say that this is a movie that I had watched as a younger girl. It's been a while since I had seen it. And this class definitely challenged me to look at it in a different light, and to view the characters in a different way, and to kind of analyze some of what they were doing and how they handled situations, and even to use that in practical ways in my own life. So to start, and I use the board behind me over here to kind of show a few of the things that really stood out to me that we would talk about in this. The first thing that I can say as far as the characters went was to discuss Captain Ramsay. He was kind of the old grump. You can tell that he is a very well respected man, that he is a great leader, but also that he over time has kind of been hardened by the things that he has gone through and the things that he's seen. We don't get background from the movie, but I can only think that some of the situations, the tough choices, that those are things that he had to face in the past, and things that had brought him to where he was as a leader. He is a very authoritative leader, very much this is not a democracy, this is my way or no way. He led with kind of a very firm hand, which is great, and a lot of people respond to that. But there's some that don't. There's some people that say that, it's stepping back and looking at the situation in a different light definitely makes for a little bit of a different, just a different perspective. Denzel Washington's character, on the other hand, was not so much of an authoritative leader, and he was more of that, let's sit back and let's really analyze this, and let's not jump to conclusions. And I know it's time sensitive, but let's really look at all of the aspects of what's going on here. This movie was filled with moral dilemmas for some of the other characters, the ones that were put into places of, what do I do? The main scene, the big scene where they get into the fight, and they've basically told the XO to arrest each other, and what does he do? And he relies on his knowledge of the laws and the things that he knows to be true, and the things that he can see. And those laws are finite, and they were set in stone, and there was no deviating from them, and that was why he was able to make the decision that he was. But having a captain that you've been under for quite some time, it does raise that moral question of, do you follow him, or can you deviate from that at that point? And I think he made the right decision for what he did. Unfortunately, that leads to the third one back here, which is divided ship. It definitely divided their ship. There was a very clear-cut one side or the other. You were either behind Denzel Washington's character, or you were behind Captain Ramsay, and that was the end of that. And they worked against each other in very opposing ways to try to take control of the ship and take control of whether to launch those nuclear weapons. And and that's something that, in going back to the moral dilemma, you have not just, it's not a situation of, if they would have released the nuclear weapons early, would it have affected, one ship? Or, this was a giant thing that could have plunged the world into a war. And so I think that's something that Denzel Washington's character really recognized and understood. We talked about the 6 ways to manage conflict, and the things that they could do to be better. one of the things that I had really hit on was to create and maintain a bond even with your adversity, and that's not something that they did. They didn't create and maintain the bond even in the adversity. They kind of did coming towards the end of things, when it came around and it was time. They had kind of both come face to face and head on in the ship, and it was a situation of, we're right here, what are we going to do? And they finally kind of had a compromise of, okay, you have this much time. If we don't get this working, that the machines and the mechanical part working in this much time, then we're going to go with my way. And so I guess in that respect, they created a bond at the end. It wasn't a pleasant bond, and wasn't a bond that probably either one of them would have wanted, but it was a compromise nonetheless. And from a managing conflict standpoint, it was something that kind of helped them to recognize, kind of give the other one a little bit of leeway. My favorite part was the end of the movie, where they kind of they got off the ship, and everything happened the way that it did, and they acknowledged each other in a very respectful way, and I think that showed a lot of character and a lot of leadership for both men in that situation and how they ended things. For me, I grew up with a very authoritative father figure, so I can definitely see some of the aspects that Captain Ramsey had and the way that he was doing things, because that's something that I'm definitely familiar with in my own life. I like to think that I would be more of a Denzel Washington character, that I would be the one to step back and kind of look at things and go, let's look at the bigger picture. What are the other options? Let's make the best decision, because what decision we make now could really have a giant impact on what we do in the future. So I hope you guys enjoy the briefing, and I will I've enjoyed watching all of yours, and y'all have a good night.